Welcome to the Vol Bros. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin, and we are two Vol Bros who are actually bros in real life. And there is quite a bit going on right now for the Tennessee Volunteers and former Tennessee Volunteers. Christian Moore has decided that he's just going to be the best player in baseball, period. And he is tearing it up right now in the Double-A affiliate for the Angels, the Rocket City Trash Pandas. I think in his first 7 games as a professional, he had 6 home runs.
Yep.
That is not bad. So we'll get to Christian here in a little bit, but obviously fall camp still going on. They had their first scrimmage this past Friday night under the lights in Neyland. Their next scrimmage is about 99.9% sure is this upcoming Thursday. Rustin, what have you heard or seen from the coaches and press conferences and stuff? What do you think we could take away from that first scrimmage?
3 names that I keep hearing over and over and over are Deshaun Bishop. And, we've talked about Deshaun probably as much or more than anyone. And again, we've said it before. Anybody who watched that kid play in high school knows that he is electric and he plays above his abilities. He is insanely fast. They held Dylan Sampson out of the first scrimmage, and all Josh Heupel could talk about was Deshaun Bishop. So I think that bodes well for Cam Seldon also. I think the fact that they're so confident in Deshaun allows them to take it slow on Cam's rehab and make sure he comes back fully healthy before he gets in the fray. So I think that's a huge positive. Ethan Davis, and I'll be fascinated to see how this fleshes out. Ethan Davis has been really shining. He's looked great. Coming out of off-season workouts, everybody was raving about Holden Stays and Miles Kitzelman. And they weren't really talking about Ethan that much. And then they got in pads, and all of a sudden they're talking about Ethan almost every day. So I'll be fascinated to see how they work that, because there's not – Josh Heupel doesn't run a whole lot of 2 tight end stuff. But I think we're going to see a lot more of Ethan Davis than probably people realized. And Miles Kitzelman may end up being the odd man out in that deal. And then the other name I keep hearing over and over and over is Christian Harrison, which is interesting. We talked about who would be the guy pushing Jordan Thomas for the star position. Jordan Thomas destroys his knee, out for the year. And the names I immediately start hearing are Christian Harrison and Christian Charles. And everybody keeps saying Christian Harrison. So clearly he has made some massive jumps and is doing very well. And what I've been hearing is Christian Harrison first, Boo Carter second, which has been really interesting. I was not expecting that at all.
For sure. Which, I mean, hey, that's great. I mean, it's time. It's his 3rd year. It's time for him to make a pretty big jump here. So we got Monica joining us. Welcome, Monica. Good to have you. We're glad you're with us. I do think, it's interesting that Saturday night, which would have been last night, they put out the video of Nico to Ethan Davis for a touchdown pass. Beautiful pass by Nico, by the way. Great hands by Ethan over the shoulder is beautiful. So I don't think that's an accident. Clearly Ethan Davis is playing well. And then probably less than an hour ago, maybe, they put out another video just now of Jacoby Thomas with an interception. They strategically edited the video to where you cannot see who threw the interception. But it is interesting when you watch the video, you can notice as soon as he catches the ball, about a step later, the intended receiver comes into the frame. And it was a crossing route behind Jacoby Thomas. And I mean, kudos to him. He made a great play, outstretched, leaping catch. So I'm very intrigued to see the secondary this year. because we just don't know anything about them. No one does. No one knows anything about this group because it's going to be totally new guys back there. Totally new. Um, I would have loved to have seen Gabe Judy Lawley return, but he didn't. And so in comes Jamad McCoy and all these guys. So it's going to be fascinating to see how that secondary performs this year because, like I said, nobody knows anything about them. And I'm sure that's exactly the way Josh Heupel wants it, especially going to Charlotte to play NC State. Um, let's see here. We got folks joining us on all three platforms right now. We're live on X, YouTube, and Facebook. So we are glad all of you are with us on all three platforms. This is our 146th episode of the Vol Bros. And so we're getting close to 150. We're counting down. Actually, 150 will be the Sunday before the first game, which I think is the 25th. Yep, 25th. So we're excited to have Reed Carringer with us that night. So that's going to be fun. Somebody asked this week, and I was going to let everybody know, give everybody a heads up. If you remember last year, and let me see if I can pull it up and show it on the screen too. Last year, we did a competition in football season, and it was a ton of fun, just absolutely a ton of fun. And I'm going to share this with you here. So on our website, I've actually still got the link on there up here where it says contest. If you click on that, we had a week by week college football pick'em challenge that we did, and it was so much fun. The final standings, I was, let's see, 90 and 40 overall for the season. The winning person was Milton Has a Cannon. They were 93 and 37, so I was 3 games off. So close. Carl was in there. Oh, Vols by 50. Carl was leading almost the whole time. And then he just had a couple rough weeks at the end. But what we did was it was $5 to enter. And if you won, you got a $50 Alumni Hall gift card. Well, we're going to do the same thing this year. Somebody asked if we were going to. We sure are, because it was so much fun. We will, as soon as the AP rankings are released, that's when we'll release this year's contest. And so keep watching the Vol Bros, because we'll, as time gets closer, we'll talk more and more about that. So it's super fun. Hope everybody joins us for that as well this season. What we do is we pick the 10 best games of each week, and then we send out the picks to everybody who signs up. You submit your picks, and then we keep a running tally. It's just a blast. So we got fall camp progressing. My thoughts. I asked Rustin's thoughts. My thoughts. I do think it's interesting that you keep hearing Deshaun Bishop's name. And so I have a question for Rustin. I have a question for everybody who's listening or watching right now. I'd love for you to give us your answer to this question in the comments. How many games does Peyton Lewis appear in this season? That's my question for everybody watching and listening right now. Let us know in the comments how many games you think Peyton Lewis. If you're unfamiliar with Peyton Lewis, he is the true freshman running back. If you had to put a number on it, and Rustin, I'd like to hear your answer too. How many games this season does Peyton Lewis? Oh, actually, I need to qualify that, because I'm not including a bowl game or any playoff game in this scenario. I'm speaking specifically about the regular season only. So, Rustin, how many games do you think he appears in?
Chattanooga, Kent State, UTEP, and Vanderbilt.
That's. I like that you included Vanderbilt instead of NC State.
Well, it's the more legitimate game.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Big Vol Daddy, welcome, buddy. Good to have you with us. He said 6 games. Now, that's interesting. The Big Vol Daddy said 6 games, because I'm going to show Audrey's. Welcome, Audrey. Good to have you with us. She said 4 games. Okay, Rustin also said 4 games. So I'm going to say no more than 4. I'm going to say 3. I'm going to say UTC, Kent State, and UTEP. I'm going to say 3 games. But the reason I think Audrey and Rustin may have hit the nail on the head here is because you can appear in 4 games and maintain a redshirt season. That's the cutoff. Once you step on the field in the 5th game, your red shirt's blown. So they can put Peyton Lewis out there 4 times throughout in 4 games, and the dude will still be a redshirt freshman next season. You got to figure. Yep, Audrey said that's why she said 4. Yep, I agree. Absolutely. You got to figure with Dylan Sampson, Cam Seldon, Deshaun Bishop, and Khalifa Keith also on the roster. Those are 4 good running backs. The beauty of this is they don't need Peyton Lewis to contribute this year. That's a luxury. That is a luxury. And so he can get 4. Tony just said 4 as well. He said if the top 2 get injured, he'll play more. Now, I do totally agree with that. I mean, this is completely assuming that there are no injuries, which we all know that's unfortunately part of the game. So I agree with Tony. If everyone stays healthy, Peyton doesn't appear in more than 4 games. If Dylan I'm going to say Dylan I'm going to give you 2, if Cam Seldon or if Deshaun Bishop, either one of those 2 and Dylan get injured, that's when you're going to start seeing Peyton Lewis more. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully he plays in 4 games at tops and he redshirts the season. What will be interesting is, if Tennessee makes a bowl game, we already know that scenario. You can play in the bowl game and it does not impact your red shirt. So he could play in 4 regular season games and then a bowl game if Tennessee misses a playoff. If Tennessee makes the playoff, I do not know the ruling on that. I don't know if that would impact your red shirt season or not. There could be totally different set of rules for playoff games. So
I think it counts just like a conference championship. It matters.
So, that's why I think 4 is definitely a safe number. Stashman, welcome, buddy. He said, depends on if he gets better at blocking. You're 100% correct. Yes. He said, our running backs have to be able to block well also, and you were exactly right. It's interesting. There was a video that came out. I don't know if it was last week or the week. I think it was a week before. And Dylan Sampson was working one-on-one with Peyton Lewis, teaching him how to block. So, I mean, you love to see that. You love to see players coaching other players. And Stashman is 100% correct. You have to be able to block. If you just ask Hendon Hooker against LSU 2 years ago when Dylan Sampson did not block for him and Hendon got lit up. Just ask him how important it is for running backs to be able to block. Tony has asked a fantastic question. Tony said, barring injuries, how many games does Mike Matthews play in? Whoa, now that's a good question. That is a fantastic question. Rustin, you want to go first? You want me to? Oh, I think you might be muted.
Sorry. Chattanooga, Kent State, UTEP, and Vanderbilt.
Yeah, okay. So this one, I only think Peyton Lewis plays in 3 games. I think 100% Mike Matthews plays in 4 games. And the reason I say that is because one other name that Josh Heupel brought up on his own that we haven't heard yet was Nathan Leacock. That's a big deal. And so you also
and the
go
day
ahead.
before
I know what you're
that,
gonna say.
Yeah, and the day before that, he raved about Chaz Nimrod for about 10 minutes.
Yep, I knew that's who you're going to talk about. So in the same week, you've got Chaz Nimrod receiving rave reviews from a coach as well as Nathan Leacock. Somebody was talking about Nathan Leacock caught 12,000 footballs over the summer.
Kelsey Pope.
I mean, that's a lot of jugs machine work right there. And so, I mean, when you start thinking about our depth in that room, and if the last 3 years have taught us anything, it's that Josh Heupel likes to get about 4 to 5 guys that he really trusts and run with those 4 or 5 throughout the game. I mean, you're looking at Brew McCoy, Squirrel White, Chris Brazzell, which once again, Chris Brazzell is receiving rave reviews right now too. And then you got Dante Thornton Jr., Chaz Nimrod,
Caleb Webb,
Nathan Leacock. Then you've got Mike Matthews and Braylon Staley. So I'll be honest with you. I think Braylon Staley and Mike Matthews might both be a 4-game appearance type season here. But I definitely think they will get them at least 4 games.
I think the telltale, I still think they won't go past 6. I think it stops when you listed those. I think it stops at Nimrod and Webb. I don't think Leacock plays much offensively because right after he raved about him really getting after it on the jugs machine, they talked about what a great asset he is on special teams. So, you know, they're clearly hyping a kid who, you know, this is part of the world they live in now. If a kid doesn't feel like he's getting the playing time he deserves, he's just going to hop in the portal. So you got to pet them a little bit. You've got to, you know, from time to time, just randomly bring them up in press conferences and keep them engaged. Cause you know, a year from now, they're absolutely going to need those guys, but right now they probably don't. And I think Nathan Leacock is going to be a casualty in all of this. I hope they can get him enough snaps on special teams to keep him involved and just keep telling him, hey, next year, Brew, Dante, Brazzell, they're all gone. So just bide your time. It's coming. But I think it's a top 6. I think it's 2 groups of 3 rotating, and I think Leacock's the odd man out.
Very well might be. Very well might be. To answer Tony's question about Mike Matthews, Stashman said he has no clue, but Matthews is a stud for sure. He is. And isn't it nice that we finally have enough depth that we can have a 5-star receiver and be like, hey, you just developed this year.
Really, 2, because a lot of people would argue Braylon Staley's better. I mean, you talk to a lot of big-time experts who actually know what they're looking at, and they rave about Braylon Staley as much or more than Mike Matthews.
In response to Nathan Leacock catching 12,000 footballs off the jugs machine over the summer, Audrey said he's perfecting his craft, and she's exactly right. That's exactly right. John, welcome, buddy. Good to have you. He said 2 groups of 3 receivers would probably be the best for rotations and stuff. Probably be the max for that. I mean, if the last 3 years have shown us anything, John is exactly correct. I mean, it's been very clear over the last 2-3 years that, I mean, he gets 4 to 5 guys, sometimes 6. That's it. They're the ones who play. Minolagi, welcome. Good to have you. She said, evening, bros, evening chat. Tony said, don't have a specific number, but with all we lose on the offensive line after this year, oh, yeah, that's not going to be fun. We have to get a few of the young offensive linemen some meaningful snaps this year. Thoughts? You go ahead, Rustin, and then I'll answer.
I love the line depth, and I think Josh Heupel and Glenn Ellerby do too. Heupel on his own the other day brought up how happy he is with the line depth. It wasn't a question he was even asked about. He just brought it up. Glenn Ellerby, when he gets asked questions, he is very confident talking about depth. He's making statements that I haven't heard him make before. They've been raving about William Satterwhite. They've been raving about Gage Ginther. 2 true freshmen. They've talked about William Satterwhite has been so good. He's pushing Bison Lang for backup center. and they were pretty high on Vyson Lang. They thought he had the backup center job locked up. And now they're kind of thinking he might move to guard at some point. It's going to be a weird depth chart if they were being honest. And this is going to sound crazy when I say it, but Glenn Ellerby said it the other day. If they were being honest, the two deep would be Lance Hurd at left tackle, Andre Carrick at left guard, Cooper Mays at center, Javontes Spraggins at right guard, and John Campbell at right tackle. And the backup at all 5 spots would be Dane Davis. He would literally be listed at every single offensive line position as next on the depth chart.
With his buddy Orr forever.
So,
gonna be a lot of Orrs on there.
It says a lot about Dane Davis that he has made himself so versatile that he can literally play all 5 offensive line positions and they're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
That's hard to do. That's really impressive. So, that helps them as well. They don't just have to find 2 guys at every position. They've got a starting 5. They got a 6th guy who can play every position. And then they've got decent depth behind him at every spot. So I think they're going to be really happy with their offensive line depth. Hopefully we don't have to test it, but if we do, I think they're confident with it.
Well, and Tony, has hit the nail on the head. I mean, like this, when you look at the end of the season, knowing you're looking at the roster for future years, the number one position that screams at you like, whoa, we're losing some folks. It is the offensive line. I mean, they will lose a minimum of 4 starters, and Dane Davis will be gone after this year too. So, I mean, Tony's exactly right. They got to get some folks some reps. I think the good news for Tennessee is that this offensive line class, I think we might look back on this class and think, wow, that was a really underrated group. I mean, like that, there's some studs in there. There's some really good players in this offensive line class that we just brought in. And so, Rustin mentioned several, but like Bennett Warren, he's another one. I mean, like there's some dudes in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
and
ideally,
let's not mince words. At the end of the season, there's going to be a blank check for the transfer portal as well. So,
for sure,
they'll be just fine. They'll go fill in some gaps with guys that will command big dollars, but we've got it to give, and they'll just fill in the holes and be ready to go.
Yeah, you're right. So I mean, you have to assume that they're going to want to, if possible, redshirt some of these guys because offensive line's a developmental position. Ideally, you want older dudes up there. Because, I mean, if you got an 18-year-old trying to block a 22-year-old or 23-year-old, there is a difference. 5 years in a college weight program compared to 1 summer, not good odds. So you want older dudes on the line.
Yeah.
And we have that this year. Joey Halsley actually mentioned that in his press conference on Media Day. He said, the timing of this worked out perfectly for Nico's first year as a starter to be behind a very veteran offensive line. And so, hopefully all those dudes we just mentioned that are true freshmen will make appearance in 4 games. And then next year they'll all be redshirt freshmen. And that would be ideal. Yeah, Tony, I mean, yeah, he said, I'm sure they will go to the portal, but some of the young guys need to start playing. If not, why recruit them? Yeah, that's why I think they'll get 4 games. I think, in an ideal world, now listen, that we all know offensive line is one of the most injury prone. I don't want to say injury prone, but one of the most dangerous places for potential injuries on the field. And so it's good that they do have more depth there this year because we sure didn't last year. And you want, if everybody stays healthy, which is a big if, but if that happens, hopefully the guys get appearances in 4 games. Playing the fourth quarter of a whole, SEC matchup against Vanderbilt, that'd be good. Get them a whole quarter against SEC defenders. Hopefully we can blow out Vanderbilt and that happens. I think that'll probably happen.
Yeah, that's not going to be an issue.
Yeah. Sean said, "Evening, bros. Welcome, Sean. Good to have you, buddy." John, in referencing Dane Davis, welcome, John. He said, "Not bad for a former walk-on." That's a great point. Herb said, "What about the secondary?" Welcome, Herb. Good to have you, buddy. He said, "What about the secondary? We feel better about them this year. Seems like we'll be more athletic." I'll let you answer first, Russ.
I love them, and the more and more I hear about them, the more excited I am. They clearly targeted toughness, and it's interesting. Jalen McMurray's another name that's been popping up quite a bit. And they said, the whole offseason, he was just kind of there, like he was going through the motions. They were like, oh, he's going to be a good depth guy. Then they put pads on, and all of a sudden, everybody's talking about Jalen McMurray. I like a corner that when the pads go on, all of a sudden, everybody starts saying their name. That's a really nice luxury to have. I think you're going to see the corners. You're going to see Jermod McCoy. You're going to see Jalen McMurray. You're going to see Ricky Gibson. 3 very physical guys. I think at the safeties, you're going to see Andre Turrentine and Jacoby Thomas. But I'll tell you, I had somebody earlier this week tell me Will Brooks is breathing down Andre Turrentine's neck. And people have been raving about Will Brooks and what he's been doing in practice. You got John Slaughter back there who can also play the star. At the star, you've got Boo Carter, you got Christian Harrison, like I said, possibly John Slaughter. There's a lot of guys back there, and they are really physical and they fly around. I think we're going to be very pleasantly surprised with how they're going to play.
Totally agree. We mentioned earlier that there was a video that was just released tonight of Jacoby Thomas having a pretty nice interception over the middle of the field during the scrimmage Friday night. I think you're going to see a much more athletic defensive secondary this year than what we've seen the last few years. And, Rustin mentioned earlier, Christian Harrison got mentioned by name in a press conference earlier this week. So I think you're going to see a lot of guys back there, especially against UTC. No joke, you might see 14 or 15 different people in the secondary against UTC, just so they can get some dudes some playing time. They're going to be very athletic. So what I mentioned earlier about the secondary, though, is everybody's curious to see them because none of us have. Like nobody's seen any of these dudes in orange and white, hardly at all. So it's going to be fun to see what they are able to do. That's definitely a position of intrigue, no doubt about it. Mina, like you said, speaking of weights, did y'all see the basketball team? So I'm guessing they must have tweeted out a photo of the team,
their annual
team photo.
Yeah, their annual weight room picture. The one that jumped out to me was JP Estrella. He looked like he'd added 30 pounds of muscle. He was an absolute house in that picture.
That's good.
I was shocked at how big his shoulders were.
Hey, if they can rotate him and Felix Okpara, that's a good situation. If they can feel confident having both those guys in there, that's a good situation. Zach, welcome, buddy. Zach said, finally, Zach has come back to YouTube. It's good to have you back, buddy. It's good to have you back. That made my whole night. That is fantastic. Tony said, y'all may think I'm crazy, but Edwin Spillman needs to play more than 4 games. If nothing else on special teams, he is a headhunter.
Yep.
100% agree with you, Tony. I think Edwin Spillman is this year's Arion Carter.
Yep.
Arion played in every single game that he was healthy. He got injured at the end of the year. But Arion played in every game that he appeared, that we had until he got injured. Edwin Spillman's going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have, at the linebacker position, you'll have obviously Keenan Peely, obviously Arion Carter, Jeremiah Thielander, but that fourth or fifth dude on the field, that's going to be Edwin Spillman. Like he's been getting some rave reviews from the coaching staff as well. William Inge was bragging on him in his press conference just a few days ago. So you're right, Tony. He needs to play more than 4 games, and he will play more. He will play in every single game we have this season. 100% on special teams and on defense too.
Yeah.
So he'll be out there.
Yeah.
Kid's a player. Let's see here. Go ahead, Rustin. Are you going to say something?
I was just going to say definitely kickoff team and punt coverage. He'll definitely be on both of those.
Yep. Zach said in the first game, who do we see take over for Nico at halftime?
Gaston.
Totally agree. Gaston Moore will come in. You probably see Jake Merklinger maybe the last half of the fourth quarter. So Gaston will come in. I think Nico will start the second half. He'll come out for 1 or 2 series in the second half. And then Gaston comes in and he'll play all the rest of the third quarter. And then Jake will get the last probably 2 possessions of the game, something like that. That's my prediction. Well, no, I have a different prediction. Jake will get the second and third last possessions of the game. Then Navy Schuler's coming in. Navy's going to get the last possession of the game. They want to get Navy some snaps for sure. This is his last year, so they want to get him on the field if they can. Sam, welcome, Sam. He said, went to Huntsville and saw Christian Morrison 2 over the wall. He is on the fast track to the majors. Totally agree. I'm going to come back to that because we're about to talk about Christian here in just a second. Stashman said they recruited speed and also went for speed in the portal for the secondary. I agree. He said, which we have not had in a few years. You're exactly right. We're going to see some good athletes back there. Let's see. Herb said, hopefully you're going to make the trip to Chattanooga next weekend to the Sunday game. That's what I'm talking about. So Herb is referring to Christian Moore as well. So since there's comments coming in about him, let's go ahead and transition to Christian Moore. Herb is exactly right. So the Rocket City Trash Pandas are coming to Chattanooga, Tennessee this Tuesday through Sunday. It's a 6-game series. They will play every night until Sunday, and then it's an afternoon game. So Rustin and I are right here in Chattanooga, so I'm excited to go down there for one of the games. We're sitting there looking at the calendar tonight, and I think there's only one night where at least we're free to go down there. So I know my mom let me know this. I didn't know this, but apparently the Chattanooga Lookouts reached out to Tony Vitello and offered him to come throw the first pitch for one of the games. I don't know what the results of that was, but I'm sure that Tony Vitello would do that. So he will probably be there one of those nights. Let's see. Tony said not to change the subject, but what do y'all think about Christian Moore? How long do you think before he makes it to the big leagues? Zach said Simo was playing with the Angels and he didn't die. That's a nice callback, Zach, when Zach died. Or we thought he did. Like he said, he's playing for the Trash Pandas. Yep, that's exactly right. Rustin, what do you think about what Christian Moore has done in his first week and a half of a pro?
Yeah, I mean, he's tearing the cover off the ball, and what he's doing is absolutely incredible. To answer Tony's question, I think next year, there's
When he goes
only
to the big leagues.
Yeah, I mean, there's only
I agree.
7 weeks left in the regular season for pro baseball. So they're not going to call him up this year. But I think he definitely gets an invite to spring training if he continues to produce at the level that he's been producing. I think he's got a shot at being on the pro roster next year. A big if for him is going to be if he can prove that he can consistently hit a major league slider. He drives everything so hard. It's going to be easy for him to roll over the top of major league sliders. So if he can prove that he can consistently hit that pitch, yeah, they'll have him in the pros as early as next year.
Well, here's the thing. You one phrase you said is key. You said if he continues at this pace or continues producing at this level, you can't not keep him off a roster if he's doing that. Dude hit 6 home runs in his first 7 games.
Yep.
That's crazy. Like, that is bizarre. I mean, he has to be the hottest hitter in all of minor league baseball right now. I mean, how in the world could there be anybody doing more than he is doing right now? It's just you can't keep him off the field if he's continuing at this clip, hitting this many. Well, not just even home runs. I mean, his batting average is through the roof. He doesn't get out. Like, that's the thing. Like, he was 4 for 4 the other night. I mean, it's unreal. It's unreal what he's doing. And so how can you not bring him up if he continues doing what he's doing? We were joking around just the other day. He's supposed to come to Chattanooga this week. We hope he gets here because he might be called up to AAA before then. I definitely think he ends up at AAA before the end of this summer. If not, even if it's just for 1 or 2 weeks, just to see what he can do against better pitching. I mean, they already know, like Rustin said, they already know they're looking at next year already. And so they want to see what he can do this year against the best of the best in minors this year so they can have him ready for next year. Audrey said Simo is doing Simo things per his usual. He sure is. It is crazy what he's doing right now. It is incredible what he's doing. Sam said a large percentage of the fans at the Trash Pandas home game are wearing big orange. That's cool. I like that. It's going to be that way at Lookout Stadium every night this week. I'll tell you that.
Yep.
For sure. I'm going to be wearing big orange while I'm down there. Sam said Simo has proven that a wooden bat is not slowing him down. Bing, 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 bing. Exactly right. Bingo. He said saw a post on the Major League. My mind totally just went blank. Minor league. Good grief. I said Major League. Minor league site saying the only other 2 players in history that have hit 2 home runs in 2 games in the first 7. So there's only 2 other dudes that have done in the history of the game. There are only 2 other guys that have done what Simo has done. That is impressive. So, I mean, he's just, it's incredible what he's doing. Zach said, by the way, Russ, I won $500 in a t-shirt for eating 8 death wings. We're proud of you, Zach. That's $500 ain't bad. The t-shirt's just icing on the cake there. Yeah, super excited for Christian. Some of the other comments that came through about Tennessee football. Sam said Tennessee needs to play some of these freshmen if they want to keep them. Eventually, yeah. I mean, like, guys got to see the field if you want to, keep them happy kind of thing. But at the same time, I think they understand there's dudes just better than him right now. Zach said Nico's going to go for 4 touchdowns and run for 2 against UTC. I mean, it's possible if he plays into the 3rd quarter. I don't know if he'll do all that in 1 half. He might throw for 4 in 1 half or throw for 3 and run for 1, something like that. Zach said, I got a new job, Evan, doing crazy stuff. What? Is your job doing crazy stuff? Is that the job? I don't know. Zach is the international man of mystery right now. He's throwing us a curveball here. Herb said playoffs or not for the football team. Rustin, yes or no? What do you think?
If they fulfill my prediction and finish 11-1, yes. If they finish 10-2, massive question mark.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Anything less than 10-2 is an immediate no.
Yeah.
If there are national analysts who have predicted Tennessee to go 10-2 and be the last team in the playoff. Now, when I say last team in, I'm not talking about the 12th seed. I'm talking about the 11th seed. The 12th seed is reserved for the highest ranked group of 6 school. And so really you have to be number 11 to get into the playoff. And if we're being honest, maybe number 10. For example, let's say that Clemson, so this was one person's prediction the other day. They had one person had Texas Tech winning the Big 12. All right, so here's the deal. If Texas Tech wins the Big 12 championship game and makes it into the playoff with a first round bye as a conference champion, the number 11 seed is getting knocked out of the playoff because Texas Tech's going to take that spot. I do not foresee Texas Tech ending the season ranked in the top 11 teams in the country. But is there a scenario where they can go to the Big 12 championship game and possibly win it and steal a spot in the playoff? Yes, 100% that's a possibility. So to be comfortably into the playoff, you have to be 10 or higher. If you're 11, you're right on the border there. And if you're number 12, you're out. I mean, it's really that simple. So Rustin, I think, makes a great point. If Tennessee's 11-1, they're in because they'll be in the top probably 10 teams in the country. They're in, no doubt. If they're at 10-2, they might be number 11 or they might be number 12. And so, I mean, like he said, it's a big question mark, and I think that was a perfect answer. So I predicted, just like Rustin did, I predicted Tennessee to go 11-1, and yes, they'll be in the playoff. That's what I'm predicting. And then we get into the whole question of, is it better for them to not play in the SEC championship game if they're 11-1? And I'll 100% say, yeah, it's better. Because what I predicted was Georgia's going to go undefeated. And then there's going to be at least 3, maybe 4 teams that are all tied with 11-1 records as the second spot in the SEC. So you got 3 or 4 teams that and the problem was none of them play each other during the regular season. So you can't do head to head as a tiebreaker. So the question then becomes, well, how do you break that tie? If there's 3 teams, 2 of them aren't making it to the SEC championship game. Honestly, you probably don't want to play in the SEC championship game if you're 11-1. Because if you go to the SEC championship game and lose, and now you're 10-2, now there's 2 other SEC teams that are 11-1 that are going to have a better record than you.
Yep.
And you know, instead of you being 11-1, now you're 11-2, and so here's the playoff committee looking at this, and they're like, well, Georgia beat this team twice or something like that. You know, once in the regular season, once in the playoff. I don't know, man. I don't think worst case, even worse than that would be if they didn't play Georgia. So like Ole Miss, for example, if Ole Miss is 11-1 at the end of the season, and then they have to play Georgia in the SEC championship game, and so Ole Miss loses to like Alabama or somebody like that, and so or whoever, somebody else, we'll say Texas, and so Ole Miss loses to Texas, and so Ole Miss is 11-1. No, Ole Miss doesn't play Texas. Let's say Alabama. So let's say they lose to Alabama. So Alabama finishes hypothetically 11-1, which that's not going to happen, I don't think. But if they did, Ole Miss finishes 11-1. Somehow Ole Miss wins the tiebreaker and plays Georgia. They lose to Georgia. Okay, you're telling me that if there are 3 SEC teams, you got Georgia at 12, or at that point they'd be 13-0, 12-0, no 13-0. You'd have Texas, who was 11-1. You'd have Alabama, who's 11-1, and you have Ole Miss, who is now 11-2 with losses to 2 of the other 3. Yeah, Ole Miss ain't getting in over those 3. Like, that's just the reality of it. If that put Ole Miss on like the cutting line of being number 10 or 11, and they're like, or 11 and 12, they're going to pick the other teams that beat them and have less losses. So I don't know. If you're 11-1, you might have an easier path to the playoff not playing in the SEC championship game. Zach said, go ahead, Rustin.
I think you said Ole Miss losing to Bama. I think you mean LSU. You had LSU and Georgia beating Ole Miss.
I had Georgia beating Ole Miss. In my prediction, I had Ole Miss going 11-1 to end the season.
I thought you had them 10-2.
Yeah, I just can remember who all was playing who and all that stuff. I released the Oklahoma video today. If you saw the Oklahoma video and you're like, "What's up with the thumbnail?" Well, maybe if you use Adobe Suite, please let me know. But my entire Adobe Suite opens for me right now except Photoshop. So if you know how to fix that, please let me know. I've tried the beta version and the regular version. I've tried reinstalling previous versions. None of them are working. They will not open, and not good because I need that. So that's, if you know how to fix that, if you can put that in the comments, I would greatly appreciate it. Zach said his new job is going to different states, eating the hottest foods possible.
Food Network already did that show. It's called Man versus Food.
My question is, Zach, how did you get in this line of work? That's my question. Zach said we're going 16-0, so it's not going to be an issue. That's what I'm talking about. Tony said, did y'all see where Drinkwitz had shirts made declaring? Yes.
Oh, not only did he have shirts made, he had all 4 guys wear it to their first press conference.
Yep. So if you're listening to the podcast, like maybe tomorrow, what Tony just asked was, did you see where Eli Drinkwitz had shirts made declaring Missouri the state of Tennessee champions? He makes me sick. Wish we played him this year. It'll be at least 2 more years before we get our revenge. So on the shirt, so last season, Missouri played Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Memphis, and I think there was actually one more from
MTSU.
MTSU, that's it. And they beat all 4 teams. So they declared themselves the Tennessee state champs. Yeah, the only way they're playing Missouri this year is if it's in the SEC championship game, which it won't be, or in a playoff, which could be actually. Missouri has a very favorable schedule for them. So, I mean, I predicted Missouri to go 11-1 because their schedule's so easy. So, unfortunately, yes, I did see that. Aftermath, Chris, welcome back. He said, I think 10-2, making it will depend on who the losses are.
Good.
For sure. Yep. Sam said, heard someone say that if you finish 10-2, the question will be, what is your resume? Who did you beat? Yeah. And I mean, really, it's just dangerous if you're 10-2 because, you got a bunch of teams in the Big Ten who are probably also going to be 10-2. That's dangerous, man. It's dangerous. And with an automatic qualifier from conference championship games, anything can happen. Like I said, if this had been last year and if Iowa had beaten Michigan, Iowa would have been an automatic qualifier. They would have been outside the top 11. That would have been a situation where the number 11 team didn't make it. Like, you got to be in the top 10. That's just the bottom line. You have to be. Zach said, have you played the new college football game yet? I haven't, unfortunately. I'm too cheap to pay $70. But eventually, when I win the lottery, I will get that game. Right now, I'd rather spend my money on playing golf. That's what I'm doing right now. Rusty, welcome, buddy. He said, I feel SEC drop in East and West will help 3 SEC teams for sure. I think you're going to see at least 4 SEC teams get in the playoff. I don't think you'll see 5, which stinks because I think that there's a very good chance you'll have 5 teams at 11-1 or better this season. I think Georgia's going to go undefeated. I think Tennessee's going to be 11-1. I think Ole Miss, Texas, and Missouri are all going to be 11-1. So you're going to have 4 teams at 11-1 with 1 undefeated. And unfortunately, I don't think they're going to let all those teams get in the playoff. They're not going to let half of the field essentially be from the SEC. Because here's the thing: 4 teams are automatic qualifiers, the 4 conference champions, plus the highest rated group of 6 schools. So that's 5 seeds right there, or 5 teams, I should say, that get in. So you have 7 other spots. That's it. Okay, if there are 4 SEC teams at 11-1, and let's say you've got let's say just for kicks, let's say Ohio State wins the Big Ten, but Oregon is at 11-1. USC is at 11-1. I don't think they will be, but what if they were? All right. And then in the Big 12, you've got the Big 12 champ, and then another team who might be 10-2, 11-1. I mean, of the 7 spots, that means they would give over half of them, 4 of them, to the SEC. And then the Big 10, I mean, I guess it's possible. But I don't know. It makes you wonder what the playoff committee will do, what they'll value, and that kind of stuff. If they want the best teams, or if they're going to try to spread it out amongst conferences. Let's see. And we hadn't even talked about the ACC yet. The ACC could have 2 or 3 11-1 teams, just because it's a very top heavy conference. You've got Florida State, Miami, and Clemson, and then everybody else. So it's just going to be a very top heavy conference. SMU's thinking they're going to come in here and do stuff they might win like 9 games, which is pretty good, but it's the ACC. So let's see here. Zach said we're going to win everything, just like baseball. I like that. Mino, like he said, nights like this just blow my mind. We have the most knowledgeable bros in chat. I'm learning so much. Thanks, y'all. Bonus is Zach doing crazy stuff, as that is so unusual. I love that. Thank you very much. That's great. That's awesome. Ooh, Zach has a good question here. Yeah, Rusty said Ole Miss doesn't play Bama. Yeah, I was just coming up with hypothetical scenarios. I couldn't remember who all was playing who off the top of my head. Let's see. Zach said, got a question for you. Which is harder, winning in Omaha or winning the college football playoff? So before this year, it was an 8-team field in Omaha, a 4-team field in the playoff. Now the playoff is 12 teams. What do you think, Rustin? I know my answer. I'm going to say the playoff, because in Omaha, it's double elimination. It is not in the college football playoff. You mess up one time, it's over. So I'm going to say that. What do you think, Rustin?
I think you have to go with college football playoff. Omaha is so much about timing and getting hot at the right time, and sometimes teams who maybe aren't necessarily the best team can sneak up and make a deep postseason run. College football, there's just not that much room. There's not that much margin for error. Like, it's either you're the best team or you're not. And, the best team may not always win every game, but they win a whole lot of them. And so I think it's just the true best team will always, for the most part, win the college football playoff.
Sam said, I want to see Tennessee working on developing a center for next year, like William Satterwhite, maybe. Also want to see them play some of these young old linemen. Who was the kid you were talking about earlier, Rustin, that they were saying is pushing for?
Gage Ginther.
Yeah, so Weiss and Lang and Gage Ginther right now are at backup center.
Oh, no. You mean at center?
Yeah.
That's William Satterwhite.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, they have to. I mean, Cooper's gone. Like, you're exactly right, Sam. There has to be somebody else waiting in line because Cooper's gone after this year. And yeah, there is the transfer portal, but if you have, ideally, you'd have somebody there that has already developed a rapport with Nico. And I mean, that's ideally. So if somebody currently on the team would be the best situation there. Herb said, talking heads say for Ole Miss, playoffs or bust for Kiffin. So I would say this. Ole Miss does have a favorable schedule, no doubt about it. If they don't win 10 games, then Lane's on the hot seat next season. If they win 10 games and they're like the number 12 seed in the country and they missed the playoffs by one spot, I don't think he'll be on the hot seat. But if they don't win 10 games, if they are 9-3 or worse, yeah, he will be on the hot seat because their schedule's too easy to not win 10 games. Let's see here. Let's see. Minalagi asked, how old is Eli Drinkwitz? I don't know. That's a great question. Is he 12?
He's 40. He's a man.
He's a man, yeah.
No, seriously, he's 40.
There you go. Sam said Missouri has a weak schedule. Drinkwitz must be responsible for it. Missouri's schedule is super easy, by the way. Yep. It may be the easiest schedule in the entire SEC this year. Their first 6 games are basically scrimmage games. We just released our season prediction for Missouri a couple days ago, by the way, if you want to go watch it. Tony said 16 teams won at least 10 games last year. 10-2 might get you in, but not guaranteed. Amen, brother. You are exactly right. If you are 10-2, you are in dangerous territory and not making the playoff. That's the bottom line. If you want to get in, you better be at least 11-1. I mean, just to give yourself a chance that you can feel confident about. But if you're 10-2, then you are at the mercy of the playoff committee. And we have all seen how favorably the playoff committee feels of Tennessee. And so that was sarcasm, by the way, if you didn't catch that in my voice there. So, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Let's see. Aftermath, Chris said, I just hope we don't have a great season, then do like we did in 22 and lose to someone we shouldn't. And that one loss keeps us out. Amen, brother. Amen. Absolutely. Zach said, all I want is another old man Russ rant.
Too early. We have a lot to go before we get back to
that. Mina Lackey talking about the shirts that Eli had made. She said, is that trash talking or is it trash, talking? Grammar matters, doesn't it? I'm going to be nice and I'm going to just say kudos to Eli for a successful season last year.
I won't be nice. That's the second.
Yeah. He stands on business. I do know that. I've been told that. So still that drives me nuts thinking about that. Let's see some of the other comments. Zach said, if we see Ole Miss sometime this year, do we use mustard bottles? No, we don't. We don't play them this year. Probably wouldn't be wise to bring the mustard bottle into the stadium as well. So
pretty sure they'll be searching.
Yeah. Kyle, welcome, Kyle. He said Missouri schedule soft like fresh bread. 100%. So just since it's come up multiple times now, I'll show everybody their schedule because I've still got it loaded here. So Missouri schedule. Here we go. Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, Vanderbilt, bye week. Bye week may be the toughest game out of the first 5 weeks. And then at Texas A&M, at UMass. So their first 6 games, the only halfway difficult game is Texas A&M. That's it. The second half of their season, Auburn at home, at Alabama, Oklahoma at home, at South Carolina, at Mississippi State, and Arkansas at home. So really, they only have, honestly, 2 difficult games in the whole season, at Alabama and Oklahoma at home. And then right after that would be Auburn and Texas A&M. But that's it. I mean, they're going to wax South Carolina. They're going to wax Mississippi State, and they're going to beat Arkansas. So that is a easy schedule. Easy schedule.
They better hope they go 11-1 and not 10-2, because if they go 10-2, that strength of schedule will keep them out.
That's exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. That's what Herb just said too. He said that strength of schedule is not going to be favorable to them. Sam said, Ole Miss break the bank on this year's portal class. These guys play 1 year and leave without performing on the field. The fans aren't going to be happy. Well, you're exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely rolling the dice. It's a win or, rethink your whole philosophy kind of situation for Lane. Kyle says it's going to be a big year for the Vols. Totally agree. Herb said, when is the next live? It'll be Thursday. Great question. We'll be live every Thursday and Sunday for the foreseeable future because we got football season coming up. I'm going to try to get Jordan Moore from Fan Run Radio to join us this Thursday. So, Jordan, if you're watching, I'm going to, direct message you. I'd love to have him on. He's fascinating follow on Twitter. Some of the stats he comes out with is incredible. So looking forward to hopefully having him on this Thursday. But we'll be live every Sunday and Thursday at 9:00 p.m. Eastern. And 2 weeks from tonight, we'll have Reed Carringer joining us. So I'm excited about that. Reed's going to give us his prediction game by game for this year for the Vols. So that'll be fun. Let's see. Zach said, did you see Bazooka Joe in the game? Came in and looked better than that Mayo kid. I loved seeing Joe get a touchdown pass. That was great. Big time scramble for a first down. That was great. Honestly, Hendon Hooker running over that dude may be the best thing I saw that night.
Yep. Drake May has not looked good. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. I think Bailey Zappi is going to be the odd man out. They're not going to waste their first round draft pick. But I mean, right now, I think if the season started today, the Patriots are going to carry 3 quarterbacks, and Joe's one of them.
I agree. Tony said, if we go 10, I think this is spot on, Tony. I think you're exactly right. He said, if we go 10-2, losing to Bama and Georgia, and those 2 win at least 11 games, I think we get in, maybe. And I think he's exactly right. Yeah. Honestly, when you think about Tennessee's schedule, honestly, those are really the only 2 teams they could lose to and still get in. If they lose to any other team and they're 10-2, they don't make it in. Because these are the only 2 teams on their schedule that have the potential of winning at least 11 games each. So this scenario that that Tony's presenting, this really is the only way Tennessee goes 10-2 and has a chance of getting into the playoff. Because otherwise it's just not going to happen. Kyle said Kiffin is always a gambler. Yep. Zach said he's going to be in Tennessee Tuesday and Wednesday. Hey, come to Chattanooga and see Christian Moore play Trash Pandas against the Lookouts. Sam said, in regards to Missouri's schedule, Auburn's going to be tough and maybe tougher than Oklahoma, given this game is later in the season and depth may be an issue. Fair point. Absolutely.
Everybody's
Absolutely.
sleeping on Auburn. I'm telling you, Hugh Freeze spent a lot of money in the offseason, and he's got finally his roster in place. I'm telling you, they're going to be a lot better than people realize.
Like he said, Joe was great in that preseason game. Herb said Oklahoma game is the pivotal game of the season. Totally agree, Herb. Totally agree, man. I'm with you 100%. Rustin's not with you on that. I'm with you 100% on that. Because if they don't win that game, they will not make the playoff. I mean, it's really that simple. If Tennessee loses at Oklahoma, they will not make the playoff. If they want to make the playoff, they have to win that game.
They're just going to have to prove it to me. I don't see it. Every time I look at that Oklahoma roster, every time I listen to their media talk, their media is saying the same things I am. Like they're not excited. They're concerned. So they're going to have to prove it.
Zach said, seriously, why does everyone pick those two teams as automatic L's? So Rustin and I didn't pick those as automatic L's this year. Georgia, yes, we both said they're going to lose to Georgia because it's at Georgia. But I actually think, and Rustin does too, I think we beat Alabama at home. Here's my logic behind that. Kalen DeBoer's first year, Josh Heupel's fourth year. Josh Heupel has the most talented and deep roster he's had since being at Tennessee. And 2 years ago at home with a less talented roster and a better Alabama team, Tennessee beat them at home. So that's why I think Tennessee beats Alabama at home again this year. Let's see. Tony said if they win at least 11, they both will be top 5 in the country. That could help us. I agree. He's talking about Georgia and Bama. Kyle said they could lose on the road and lose to Sooners, but go on the road and beat the Bulldogs. They still get in my opinion. Well, that's a whole other scenario. You're exactly right. If they beat Georgia, that's a whole different ball game at that point. I don't think we win in Athens, unfortunately, because Georgia is just crazy deep. But that would be pretty sweet if they did. Zach said he's going to Pigeon Forge. So if you're in the Pigeon Forge, Jerry, be look out for Zach. Say hey to him. Zach's predicting a 62-10 Tennessee win against, I think, Alabama. That would be incredible. I don't think it happens, but that would be amazing. Kyle said he thinks we beat Bama as well. I agree. Herb said only way we lose to Oklahoma is to beat. Only way is if lose to Oklahoma is to beat Alabama or Georgia. Agree, Oklahoma is overrated. Yeah, I agree with that for sure. He said Zach said we beat Oklahoma 62-10. I'm sure Josh Heupel would like that. And he said we're going to run it back to 22 against Alabama. Sam said, which skill position players are going to be key for Georgia? They lost a few key offensive players from last season. That's true. They also lost a really good wide receiver last week, Ra Thomas. But here's the thing. We all know the most important position on the field is a quarterback. Don't matter who you are, everybody knows that. Everybody believes that. And in the most important position on the field, Georgia is 3 deep, and their third string quarterback would start for most other SEC teams.
Their third string running back would be, I would bet, 7, maybe 8 SEC schools starter.
I mean, it's a plethora of riches. Especially, I mean, like I don't even know why Jaden Rashada went there. I mean, what is he expecting to win the job next season? I mean, it's unreal. Jaden Rashada would be starting at the only SEC schools I can think of that he wouldn't be starting at, obviously Georgia. And this is their third string quarterback now. Georgia, Tennessee, Ole Miss. Maybe LSU. Maybe. I know they're all hyping up Nussmeier down there, but it's because they don't have somebody like Jaden Rashada who's there. Alabama, he wouldn't start over Milroe. That's all I got.
Yeah.
I think he would be starting at every other school.
We know he'd be starting at Florida.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I was like, some people might be thinking, well, what about Graham Mertz at Florida? Well, no, he was going to start over Graham Mertz at Florida.
No, that was a done deal. That was a $13 million check that bounced.
Yep. Kyle said road games are always the toughest. Totally agree. Absolutely. 100%. And Oklahoma will be Nico's first true road game as a starter. Mina, like he said, does Georgia have cash bail? Let's see. Zach said, I wish we can skip the next few weeks and get to the 31st. Yeah, I totally agree, man. For sure.
Whoa, hold on. 31st. Are you not excited for the 24th? On the 24th, we get a noon kickoff of Florida State and Georgia Tech, which will actually probably be a pretty good game. And then the rest of the day, we get treated to Montana State, New Mexico, SMU, Nevada, and then the midnight game is the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii playing the Fighting Hornets of Delaware State.
That's a good one. That's my CTV. Did somebody ask in the comments earlier about week 0 games? I think somebody asked that, and I missed it somewhere. Tony said, Zach, Josh Heupel's 1-5 against Georgia and Bama. I don't know. I know we haven't had their talent. That's true. Evan, welcome, buddy. He said, I'm kind of high on Georgia Tech this year.
So, ironically, I think Florida State wins that game fairly handedly, but I think early it's probably going to be a game. Georgia Tech's going to be better than people realize.
Let's see. Sam said Kirby's dealing with traffic issues and now a quarterback controversy.
There's no controversy this year. Next year, yeah, he's going to have a fight on his hands.
Yeah. Zach said, would you consider a watch party versus Georgia? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I like being able to not have my emotions on display. He said that was Zach asked about week 0. So, I mean, here's the deal. Listen, everybody who likes the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii, week 0 is their week because that's the one week that they get a feature game, like every year. 2 years ago,
I'm not sure about midnight.
Vanderbilt.
I'm not sure about midnight being a feature game, but okay.
I mean, it's the only time of the whole season they're on TV. Is the first week of the year in week 0.
I'm personally more interested in seeing what the Fighting Hornets of Delaware State are going to have, but that's just me.
Well, that's true. I wonder what their mascot looks like. If it's anything like
it's a blue and orange hornet.
Gambler Pete. What was that dude's name from Evansville?
I don't know.
I can't remember his name now. Purple somebody.
Ace
Purple. Ace Purple. That's what it was. Purple. Yeah.
No, theirs is a blue and orange. It's almost like it's a weird mix, but it's a weird shade of blue and a weird shade of orange, and it's a hornet.
Well, now I gotta look it up. Hang on.
It's almost like if Florida decided they wanted to become Hornets.
Delaware State Hornets football. So it looks like here. I'm going to share my screen so everybody can see it. It looks like there's multiple versions of the logo.
Well, of course.
One of them looks like the old Charlotte Hornets logo. All right, so I'll share my screen here. This is the hard-hitting stuff you get on the Vol Bros, y'all. The Delaware State Hornets logo analysis. So this one right here reminds me of the old Charlotte Hornets logo. You got that one. This one's facing the right direction. That's the old Charlotte Hornets logo, basically, right there. Look, it even has like pinchers on it. Do Hornets have pinchers on their hands, or are they just
I don't
making
know.
stuff up now? Come on,
I like
Delaware State.
I like that they had to put a tailwind behind it to make sure everybody knew it was flying.
Yeah. This is specific to their football team. Delaware State Hornets football. I like the football at the bottom. That cracks me up. It's very, very specific. There's generic there. Here's another version of it. What's up with the pinchers? I don't think Hornets have pinchers on their hands.
They should replace it with machine guns. That'd be more intimidating.
With lasers shooting out of its eyes.
Mhm.
Oh man. Well, that's pretty cool.
Midnight Eastern, August 24th.
Here's their schedule right here. Nobody thought when they turned on the Vol Bros they'd be getting a breakdown of the Delaware State Hornets football logo
Fighting Hornets
schedule. Oh, I messed up. Hang on, just real quick. So all of the people in Delaware can.
Evan just told you they have claws.
Oh, they wait for real? Like they have claws?
He said confirmed via internet.
Yeah. So confirmed. Let's see. So they play Hawaii and then Richmond and RMU. I don't know who that is.
Robert Mason.
That like just
Robert Morris in New York, Robert Morris University.
And then another one that's too small for me to be able to read the screen.
It's never good when the icons are too small to make out.
And then Sam Houston. And then
is that
that's Campbell.
Is that the Campbell Camel?
That sure is. That's exactly who that is. I don't know. That's too small. Wait, that's Mississippi. Is that like an old school Mississippi State logo? It's got a bulldog on it.
There's no telling.
I think that's Mississippi State. Then
there's no way Delaware State is playing Mississippi State.
It looks like it looks like an old school Mississippi State logo. So it's somebody Bulldogs. Don't know who that is. Don't know who that is. Don't know who that is. That's homecoming.
Hang on. I'm going to rescue you here.
That's all Buffalo.
Right, so they start off with the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii. Then they play Sacred Heart. Then they play Wagner.
Wait, is that this year's schedule that you're looking at?
Yep. So you must have.
I was going down. They're going left to right.
Yeah.
What's up with that? Delaware State, get your act together and do it vertically.
So the S that you saw was probably Sacred Heart. That's SHU. Yep. Wagner is a weird eagle. Yep. Richmond's the Spiders. Campbell's the Fighting Camels. There's nothing worse than a fighting camel. And then the one you probably didn't recognize was SFU. That's St. Francis.
It's homecoming.
Actually, so they're a D2 school, and actually their number 2 receiver is a former student of mine.
That's cool.
They're in Philadelphia. And then RMU is Robert Morris University. Oh no, the S with the bulldog you saw, that's South Carolina State University.
Okay. All right.
And then they play
just like a retro Mississippi State logo.
Yeah, it's definitely a ripoff. And then they play the Howard Bison, not Bison.
Oh, Howard. Okay.
The Bison. They're very picky about that. And then they have the Morgan State Grizzlies.
Oh, okay.
Then
that's
they
the one
have
that was too small. I couldn't see.
Yep. Then they have the Norfolk State Spartans.
Hey, Norfolk State. All right. Basketball.
And then they wrap up the day with another Eagle, the North Carolina Central Eagles.
Well, there you go. So anybody who is curious about the Delaware State football team schedule this year, now you know. This is really a one-stop shop, y'all, for college football.
Sneak peek, August 24th, midnight Eastern.
That's exactly right. Let's see. Sam said Vanderbilt needs to make Hawaii a permanent rival. At least get one win on the season, right?
I will say it was pretty genius on Delaware State's part to get a money game in Hawaii. Like, if you're going to get a money game, go to Hawaii and get a money game. That was smart.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Mina like the watch party idea. Let's see. Kyle said, Evan, right, it's the only time they get airtime. I'll be watching because I love college football, plus off Friday and Saturday. There you go. Absolutely. I mean, it's the one time a year that they're on TV. Let's see. Zach said that's a better logo than Ace Purple. Better mascot. Oh, I didn't see their actual mascot. I can't go down that rabbit trail again.
It's a hornet.
Let's see. Mina like he thought the guy looked like Lane Kiffin on this. That's good. Zach said, I hope Hawaii wins. I still remember when they went 12-0. I thought they went 11-1 that year. They had that dude at quarterback. I can't remember his name now.
Jimmy Chung?
No, it was
Timmy Chang.
It was even before him. It was dude was slinging it all over the place. They threw the ball like 90-something% of the time. And they had the wide receiver that was going places.
So that would have been when they ran the run and shoot. June Jones was the head coach.
Green Wave said Colt Brennan. Maybe that's who it was. I think that's who it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Zach said that the team that you're talking about, the Bison, not Bisons, he said they could only afford one Bison.
Oh, no. The Howard fans are very quick to correct you. If you call them the Bisons, they will very quickly tell you, no, it is a herd of bison. And they for some reason take that very personally.
Sam said you always need to schedule Hawaii on the road. Absolutely.
Always.
Absolutely. Wes said, go Vols, baby. That's right, Wes. I'm glad you're with us, buddy. Well, this has been fun. This has been a fun stroll down Delaware State Lane. Honestly, didn't anticipate that happening tonight. So that was a fun little detour there. We hope everybody has a great evening. I hope you join us Sunday night. So we'll wait. This is Sunday, Thursday night. I hope you'll join us Thursday night. Hopefully Jordan Moore will be with us on Thursday. I'm going to reach out to him tomorrow, actually. Really hope he can join us either Thursday or Sunday. There's one other person that I've got on my radar to have on the show before the season starts. And that'll be a really, really funny episode. So hope all of you have a great, great evening. Man, it's so much fun getting to interact with all of you. We hope you have a great week ahead of you. And we look forward to seeing you Thursday night. Kyle said, good night, guys. See you soon. Go Big Orange. Absolutely, buddy. Go Big Orange. Next time we're live, actually, will be right after they finish their next scrimmage. So while we're live, there might be news coming out while we're live about what happened in the scrimmage on Thursday. Zach said, Vol Bros no more. It's now the Hornet Bros.
Fighting Hornet.
I love it. That's awesome. We hope everybody has a great evening, and we will see you all very soon. Go Vols, baby. Go Vols.